All right. Welcome, Team Schrader. I am so lucky. You are so lucky. Today, we're joined by Randy Kessler. Randy was a colleague of mine practicing domestic relations and now has continued to provide a wealth of information for families just struggling through this pandemic right now with COVID-19. He's just graciously agreed to join us today, and he's going to share with us a lot of wisdom on all of the family law issues that you're facing as a result of this pandemic. So welcome, Randy. And why don't you introduce yourself a little bit better to the audience? I know you as a colleague and as a friend, but just share with them the wealth of experience that you have.
I will, and I'm honored to be on with you, and I'm honored to be considered your friend because you get it. You know, there's some judges that you can think about all the accolades and you'd like to just be able to say they get it. You know, I know it's going to be nice when I walk in front of you. The demeanor is good, and you're really trying to fix the problem. It's not about ego. It's not about who's got the better lawyer. It's about what can I do to help this family. So this is exactly an extension of how you are in the courtroom. And thanks for letting me be a part of it. It's true.
I appreciate your support right now during this very interesting time in my life, personally, as well as professionally, in this re-election campaign and everything that's going on. So I really appreciate your belief in me.
Well, you're one of the strongest people I know. So keep strong.
Thank you.
So about me, so I'm a family lawyer. I've been doing it about 30 years. We've got from downtown Atlanta. We've got 15 lawyers, about 30 people. I am a bar junkie. I like helping the bar, doing seminars. I chaired the family law sections of the Atlanta bar, the Georgia bar, and I ran out of bars to family law sections. So
you're just raising the bar.
That's it. That's it. You know, it's like Winston Churchill. Who'd want to be a member? They let me in too. So they let me in, and I like to give back. I wrote a couple of books about divorce, and I teach at Emory Law School. And we've just done we'll talk about that a little bit, but it's a jury trial class, and it's based on a jury trial of a divorce case. And the students learn how to cross-examine and how to close arguments. And then the trial is supposed to be, we go down to the courthouse and have real judges like you sit there and judge them with real jurors and real witnesses. And this year we did it by Zoom. We did it a few days ago on Friday, and it worked. Surprisingly, it worked, and there were some surprising benefits that we can talk about that you as a judge are probably going to appreciate once you go through a trial. Things dawned on me like, I can see myself. I can see that I'm rolling my eyes, and that looks pretty stupid. I should stop that.
Well, and that's one of the things that I really want you and I to talk about is how can we now use the technology that COVID-19 has forced us to consider, where in the past most jurisdictions would never have considered making sure that access to justice was provided, even in a situation like this where we can use this technology to make sure that justice continues to flow.
In some ways, it's going to flow better. You know, there are not a lot of silver linings for this horrible pandemic, but this might be one. 20 years from now, people might say, why did it take that to make lawyers and judges and systems use the technology we have? I mean, I could just list off the benefits I never thought about. Objections. Instead of lawyers yelling objection, you know what the students did? They raised a paddle that said objection. It was polite. They didn't interrupt the other side.
That's nice.
People didn't have to get up early and deal with traffic and pay for parking and wait in security lines and crowded elevators and crowded bathrooms. And, you know, we started on time and we ended on time. I mean, cost the county less money.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're sharing that experience, because I know right now the Georgia Supreme Court is broadcasting for the first time their oral argument. So not only is technology going to provide additional open access, but also transparency for the court process and for justice. So you're right. There's a wealth of benefits that we will probably see from this situation.
100%. You know, it's if the Supreme Court can do it, we should be able to do it. And if clients are going to complain about it, then, you know, they can spend more money on me, because I'll charge them to drive to the house, to wait in line, to go to the court, and the judge is busy with another case.
Wow.
Or they can pay me for 30 minutes to get on at 9 o'clock and be off at 9:30. So it's absolutely the wave of the future, and it's better for clients.
See, I hadn't even thought about the economic benefits for clients. And then you just tapped on security. There's going to be an increased level of security as well, because people aren't having to converge in the courtroom with all those emotions of fear, anxiety, hostility. Wow, you're just really kind of laying it out there for all of us.
I bet you are happier seeing some people virtually than in person. And I don't mean just clients. I mean, there are probably some lawyers you'd rather
Well,
see virtually.
that's human nature for sure. So
Yeah.
share with us a little bit of the trends that you're seeing as a result of the sheltering orders and social distancing and the impact that it's having on your clients.
So we're getting a lot more calls. A lot of what we do in the book that I wrote, the Divorce Protect Yourself book, was sort of a divorce 101. I'm thinking about a divorce. What does it mean? I don't want to go hire a lawyer yet. We're getting a lot of those calls. I thought that mine was okay because I was away most of the day. I came home, it was bad. I went back to work. Now I'm home all day and I realized I don't want to spend the rest of my life with this person, or I'm trying to be happy by doing everything else. And maybe if I just get away from him or her. So we're getting what would it cost? How long would it take? How often would I get to see my children? How much money would I be left? Those kind of calls, which we get in normal times. And usually we get them at the beginning of the year after people have, been at home during the Christmas holidays and been through time together. So I'm not surprised that people are getting a lot of the calls. And on the good side, some people are saying, Ms. Kessler, you've been handling my divorce, but now that we're stuck together, we realize we wouldn't want to be stuck with calls. We're trying to file for divorce. And some people will just say, I could live with it if I could still travel every week and only be home on weekends. But when you're really there full time, those people that were just tolerating it, they're pushing them to get a divorce, fortunate or unfortunate. And I would say some of them are better off for being pushed in the direction that they're going to get to eventually, but they're doing it earlier. It sounds bad, but if you're going to get there, rip the Band-Aid off sometimes.
Okay. And what kind of guidance can you give to the parties who are experiencing the pressure of the COVID is now placed on their fractured relationship? And for example, in these custody issues where the non-custodial parent is now experiencing difficulties with their custodial parent in connecting with their children and vice versa.
So there are two parts to that. I'm going to take it if you don't. One is if the family's still together and living in the same house, my advice would be find some quiet time, find some private space, walk around your backyard, do something to ensure you're not in each other's face, because when you're angry,
Excellent.
and we're all angry at this darn disease, and we're all angry at the government for not doing enough, and we're all angry, who do you take it out on? I mean, the person that's in front of you. So don't be in front of that person all the time. Find your own space and talk to others on the phone. Take advantage of the cell phone and talk to other people. So create your own space and don't be together morning, noon, and night, no matter how good things are. We all need our own space. And of course, put yourself in their position too. Think it, don't say it. If you're mad, take a breath. My step grandfather was a furrier who used to say, measure twice, cut once. Just think it twice before you say it if you're going to say something mean or bad or negative. But for those that are already separated or never were married and have two households, that's the toughest. I don't know how people come to you and say, he's not letting me visit my children, or she's cutting off my time with my children, saying that she or he's afraid of this virus. How are you going to handle it? And I'd love to hear how you handle it. I'm going to tell you what I tell my clients. I tell them, act in a way that when you're in front of Judge Schrader 6 months from now, and he's saying you never let him see the kids, that you can be proud of how you acted, that you can say, well, I did this. I encouraged him to come by and the kids would be at the door. I explained to him that unless he could prove to me that he had not been around anyone that had COVID because he works in the hospital or he works here, that I didn't do it. And I'm going to be on both sides of this. I'm going to be arguing for people that don't get to visit and they're upset. And I'm going to be on the sides of people that didn't let their other parent visit. So I'm going to have to argue both ways. And I think I can do that with this case because it's all about the facts of each case. And you as a judge know, no two cases are the same. It better be that you did everything you could to make sure the children knew the other parent.
Well, and that is wonderful advice. And what I have sensed just kind of watching some of these posts and watching some frustration that's been exhibited by both sides is we have the natural pressure of being in a bad co-parenting situation. And then now COVID-19 has dumped a lot of additional pressure and anxiety on people. And so I don't know about you, but I'm growing more and more concerned about the bottleneck in the justice system, which has historically been the go-to for people that have a co-parent or another party that's acting badly. Well, with the shutdown of the justice system, we've got that delay. We've got the additional pressure of COVID-19 and some losing jobs and losing contact with kids. And are you seeing that
100%.
swell of just sort of like
100%.
volcanic activity?
100%. And the flip side is the support. I see people saying, well, I'm out of a job, I can't pay support. You can pay something. I mean, I know, Judge, that if you see someone who just goes cold turkey with no payment, you could throw them in jail and see if that person pays. But if they're paying something, it's harder for you to put them in jail because jail means no money. At least some money's coming in. Do something and do your best to get an accommodation and say, if I get a loan or the money comes back or the government funds this, I'll reimburse it. But, just think, how would Judge Schrader, how would any judge view me and how I acted if I'm in court trying to defend my actions? It's just
excellent. That's excellent. So tell me what jurisdictions you find it difficult right now to receive some hearings. I know Gwinnett County, we're having difficulties. I think especially the Metro Atlanta area, we're just having difficulties making sure we can schedule things. Have you seen any other issues with trying to schedule, or especially in an emergency situation?
Yeah, I don't know that I see it all, but we're a metro firm. We have a lot of people that hire us. They say, well, I want a firm that only does divorce. So we get not just Metro Atlanta, we get rural Georgia. People come in and say, we want to hire you for our case because everyone knows my husband. So we see a lot across the state. And I don't even think it's by jurisdiction. I think it's judge by judge. I see in the same jurisdiction. Some judges, man, they want to use this technology, they embrace it, and they're going overboard and they're saying, we're going to do everything by Zoom, even when the lawyers say, Judge, we don't even need a hearing. And I see the opposite extreme where some judges will just not give us a hearing because they're afraid of technology. But I think everyone's gyrating and gravitating towards the middle where people are not as afraid of technology. Judges realize, like you said, the bottleneck is going to be worse if you don't keep your case flow going. The average person in Georgia has no idea that you have 8, 9, how many hundred, what do you have, 1,000 cases assigned to you every year? How do you resolve 1,000 cases, especially if you take a 2-month break from resolving any of them?
Exactly.
That's 100 a month, and they're not 100 days in a month. So
well, I know in my division, even before COVID-19, I had sort of like a triage approach where we would analyze the case, see, is this something that would be a simple hearing? Is this something that needed guidance through, because in Gwinnett County, we have a course that we mandate, and the navigating the family change.
Yep.
And then we also have one that's actually a little bit more intense for parties that have high acrimony, or they're kind of like continuously coming into the court for resolution of their conflicts. And so we would assess our cases even before COVID-19, just to make sure that those parties that are experiencing extreme conflict could come into Division 3, have a hearing, have attention from the judge, because as you know, there are clients that you do everything you can to try to help them mediate, resolve all of their issues, but some parties just need to hear from the judge.
No
and
question.
So we had already implemented that. Of course, Gwinnett is not as technologically up to date as we needed to be, but hopefully through this and through what you just shared, we see the benefits on so many different levels of how technology can really help improve access to justice, improve the timeliness of parties being able to resolve their conflicts. Because just as a practitioner before I took the bench, and this is one of the reasons I'm so sensitive to making sure that parties get a hearing as soon as they can, is because I've represented parties where they desperately needed a temporary hearing, but they couldn't get one for 90 days. for
Yeah.
120 days. And the stress of parties living in that type of conflict, even before this crisis, is just so overwhelming and debilitating. And it does so much damage to the children and to everybody involved. So I'm like you, I'm really excited about what this is showing us as far as the utilization of all of this digital technology and resources. And I do see it as a benefit to improving the access of justice and helping parties.
Yeah, I mean, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and we need this, so we're doing it. And I love what you said, because mediation, first of all, solves a lot of cases, no question. And then, of course, when this virus hit, mediators stopped having mediation. Nobody wanted to be in person. No, technology wasn't good enough. Well, mediators are getting it, and they're starting to set up, Zoom and Skype and audio mediation. So that's helping. But mediation, like you said, Judge, never is 100% successful unless you have the backup of, if we don't settle, this judge will step in. If people think I can just sit here and stonewall you all day because this judge is never going to give you a hearing, well, why would somebody give in? Wouldn't they just stick on their position? But if they're worried that Judge Schrader is going to step in and maybe make them pay the support that they don't want to pay or make them allow the visitation, then mediation is much more successful. So the ability, the access to justice, even though it may be once in a blue moon that we actually need you, it's pivotal. People will not settle a case sometimes unless they know that the alternative to settlement is even worse. Because some people like the status quo and they say, why should I budge? Make me, I can't do anything. I'm not going to give him access to the kids, or I'm not going to pay her money. Well, we got a hearing date scheduled before Judge Schrader in 2 weeks. So do you want to control your own destiny, or do you want to leave it up to the judge who may be having a bad day or may think that you make more money than you say you make? You have no idea. So,
well, and that's, as you know, that's one of the things I tell the parties before we start a hearing, is that I will give you all the time in the world that you need, but you need to remember that I am a stranger to your life and to the facts of your circumstances. And are you really willing to give that power over your future over to a perfect stranger? Have you thought through this? Are you sure that you want to go through this? And usually 8 times, 7 times out of 10, they will ask for more time to try to resolve their differences, because the judge is now telling them, I'll resolve it for you, but once I resolve it, that's it. There's no turning back. There's no buyer's remorse. You're going to be stuck with the decision, and you still have the power to make the decision over and to control your future. Otherwise, a lot of parties think they have the winning case, that they're going to come in, it's going
everyone
to be a
thinks that.
slam dunk. Well, you know that nobody wins in litigation, especially the children. I mean, when people are arguing over their family issues, there are no winners. And the more you argue and the higher the conflict, the more devastating it is. So
I have some dear friends I wouldn't want making the decision about my life, much less a stranger. So think about some of the people out there, right?
But I think that's part of just educating the public about the justice system and about the fact that the courtroom really is a battlefield. I mean, it's not Hollywood. It's not glamorous. It's dramatic. It's hard. It's devastating emotionally and physically and financially. And, people, especially right now, since you can't get into the court, really need to be using the skills that you were just sharing.
Well, and people don't realize, I mean, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but judges are human. We all think, the average person, the non-lawyer, thinks judges are the wisest, smartest, most studious people in the world. And generally, they're right. They are. But they don't realize they have 15 other cases, and they may not hear the lawyer, or your lawyer may act wrong, or they may have a different view of life. They may think that children need private school, or they may think children don't need private school. You just don't know, what that judge is going to do with your set of facts. And you're so much better off handling it yourself. Yes, we're lucky to have some really great judges, but even great judges cannot see things the same way you. Don't think that a judge can solve all your problems. It's so much better, like you said, to solve it yourself, even though you're giving in on things that you think you might win. Boy, and if you think you're going to win and your lawyer's telling you you're going to win, get a second opinion. No lawyer should make you feel confident that you're absolutely going to win ever, because we've all had cases that we should have won. The facts were going our way, and we walked in and got a completely different result. not because we did a bad job as lawyers or the facts weren't good, just the judge didn't see it, and we didn't think about that possibility.
Well, sitting where you're sitting, Randy, knowing the technology that's out there for the courts to implement, getting the calls that you're getting right now, what's some of the suggestions that you can give us, the courts, on how we can implement some of this technology to address especially these high acrimonious custody disputes, and just to not necessarily decide all the facts of the case, but just to give the parties some guidance on what they need to be doing?
I'm a little bit biased because I was pretty involved in the development of the family division in Fulton County, and I think there are a couple tools there that they use very well. They have what we call a notice of discovery dispute. So if you hear a discovery issue, you do this anyway, Judge, let the lawyers know they can pick up the phone and call and say, Judge, it's a simple issue. They won't give us a date for a deposition. But the judges should make lawyers know you can get a conference call. We would happily talk to you by conference call. We've got more time available now. We've got no jury trials. I think that's number one. If any judge is secretly afraid of technology and that's why they're resisting it, then get a law clerk that will sit there and run the Zoom for you. You know, there are people out there that need jobs that will volunteer to have, you know, court on their resume. There are workarounds for everything. And it's the way of the future. If you want to and say, I don't want to bother with this stuff, that's fine. But if you're going to stick around and be in law enforcement or be on the court, embrace it. So I think the courts, and by and large, the judges that I've seen have done that. You know, look at you. You're doing a Zoom podcast to educate people. I mean, that's I think that's ahead of the curve. So, and that's the way it would be. And the people that are just coming out of college and the young folks that are, you know, having legal issues in court, they don't understand why everybody's not able to pick up their cell phone and just log into the court and talk to a courtroom. You know, what we're doing, judges, we actually built a little courtroom in our office, and just before Corona hit, we made plans to expand it. So we're going to double it. We're going to have a private courtroom, and now we're putting in video cameras because one side may not want to come down. So we'll have you know, and you can see their picture. And you'll probably do that when you're back in court. That some people that, for whatever reasons, they're positive tested for Corona, they don't want to come, so they'll be on the screen, or the lawyer will have them on their MacBook and show you a picture of their client. There'll be lots of new technology ways to work around. But the neat thing about doing this Emory class was every problem we had, we overcame. The rule of sequestration, we put them in what's called the wait room. So the witness can, instead of having to go out in the hall, they just click a switch and they're in a separate room, and judge clicks a switch, moves them into the real courtroom, the virtual courtroom.
Wow.
So, you know, you can solve, I mean, technology solves a lot. Just open to it. And if you're really afraid of it, this is what I've done for years. Hire someone young. You know, I was afraid of building a website, or I was afraid of using email or learning how to text. Young folks, this is what they do. And they'll
Well, I have to give a shout out to my children.
Yep.
They're millennials, and they're the ones that have helped me, and things that would take me hours to figure out with a click of the button. Oh no, Mom, this is how you do it. And so, yeah, I totally get that. But that's one of the great things I've seen of COVID-19 also, is that there's now a bridging of the gap between the older generations and the younger generations to connect through this technology, and just learning so much about that and each other is that has been a silver lining I think we've seen too. So
no question. I don't know how any of us would have gotten through COVID, especially the younger folks and our kids, and I've got young children, you know, without the ability to interact socially virtually. It's,
yes,
you know, incredible. And to study and to not have to retake, you know, 6th grade or 10th grade because they
yes.
couldn't go to school. And, you know, they're doing it. And, you know, there'll be people that are doing this for a long time to come, and school may be starting later. You know, my wife would love not to be driving our child to school at 7 o'clock in the morning every morning if the first 2 classes could be online.
Really,
You know?
I know it. I mean, there's just been a lot of awareness of how we can do things better, and utilizing the technology. And you know, I've always been one to let's look for the silver lining as well. And I just see a lot of benefits. I mean, there's been, you know, a lot of detriments to this situation as well, economically and psychologically and physically. But we're trying to address those. But and hopefully we'll start flattening the curve soon, and we can get back to things in a better way. And
Yep.
I just think that this will provide us a mechanism to do that.
Yep. And keep good judges like you around, and people that are open-minded to change and technology in the future. And Gwinnett's always been known for, fast moving their dockets, and, they don't want to get a reputation for being slow. And I'm sure that everyone around there is trying to get it going and make sure that they're a leader. But it takes folks like you doing stuff like this. So thank you for all you're doing.
Well, thank you. And thanks for joining me today. I know that my viewers and my voters and my community is really going to benefit from all the information and strategies that you've shared with us today.
My pleasure. And if anyone's got any comments, look, if anyone's got criticisms, email me. Tell me I said something stupid and why it was stupid, because I always can learn.
And I'll have that in the body of my post about this. But why don't you go ahead and share now how people can get in contact with you?
Sure. It's KS, like King Solomon, ksfamilylaw.com, R Kessler, ksfamilylaw.com. And I'm pretty busy. I'll get to your email, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. If there's something that I didn't think of, this is just helping people that are going through this stuff, and I need all the input I can get. It makes me a better lawyer, and it makes us all better, I think.
Yes, same here. All right, my friend. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Okay, bye.